There is an entity in North American tradition that has been documented by at least 8 independent indigenous nations across territories spanning half a continent. Nations that had no contact with each other. Nations that spoke different languages, practiced different traditions, and built entirely different cultures. And every single one of them documented the same thing, the same description, the same behavior, the same warning. Tonight we talk about the Wendigo. What makes the Wendigo different from every other entity we have covered on this channel is this. It is the only one that has a clinical diagnosis named after it. Wendigo psychosis is a documented condition in psychiatric literature. Real cases, real patients, real physicians who recorded what they witnessed. The Wendigo is not just a legend passed down through oral tradition. It is something that entered the medical record, and that is where tonight's story begins. The Wendigo comes primarily from the traditions of the Algonquian-speaking peoples, a language family that includes the Ojibwe, the Cree, the Innu, the Niskapi, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi, among others. Their territories cover an enormous stretch of North America, from the Great Lakes up through Canada, across the boreal forest, into the subarctic. This is important. These are not neighboring villages sharing a campfire story. These are nations separated by hundreds of miles, describing the same entity. The description is consistent across all traditions. The Wendigo is tall, described as anywhere from the height of a man to dozens of feet, growing larger as it consumes. Emaciated despite its size, as if perpetually starving regardless of how much it eats. Its skin is described as gray or pale, pulled tight over visible bone. Its eyes are described as pushed deep into the skull, sunken, hollow. And it smells. Every account mentions the smell: rotting flesh, decay, the specific odor of something that has been consuming death for a long time. But the physical description is not what makes the Wendigo feared. What makes it feared is what it represents. In Algonquian tradition, the Wendigo embodies a specific transgression: cannibalism. A human being who consumed another human, whether by choice or desperation, during famine, was believed to have opened a door, to have invited something in. The act of consuming human flesh was a transformation. The person was no longer fully human. Wendigo psychosis is a culture-bound syndrome documented in psychiatric literature from the late 19th century onward. The affected person develops an overwhelming compulsion for human flesh. They become convinced they are transforming into a Wendigo. They report feeling their heart turning to ice, a specific physical sensation documented across multiple cases. In the most severe cases, they act on the compulsion. The cases documented by physicians in Canada between 1880 and 1920 follow the same pattern. A person isolated during winter after extreme food scarcity begins reporting that something is happening to them, that the craving is not a thought but a physical need, that they are becoming something they cannot stop. Several cases ended in violence. Several ended in the affected person requesting to be killed before they harmed someone else. The most documented case is Swift Runner, a Cree man from Alberta, Canada. In the winter of 1878, he was snowbound with his family. When spring came, Swift Runner emerged alone. He told authorities his family had starved. Investigators found evidence that contradicted that entirely. He was arrested, tried, and in 1879 became the first person legally executed in the Northwest Territories. At his trial, Swift Runner stated that a Wendigo spirit had entered him during that winter, that it had not been him acting, that something else had used his body. The psychiatric community has debated Wendigo psychosis for over a century. What is not debated is that the cases are real. The records exist. The courts processed them. Whatever Wendigo psychosis is, it happened. What brings the Wendigo into the same category as the entities we cover on this channel are the modern sighting accounts. Reports from witnesses who had no familiarity with the Wendigo tradition, describing encounters in the boreal forests of Canada and the northern United States that match the traditional description with unsettling precision. In 1930, a prospector working alone in northern Ontario reported encountering something on a trail. In a letter to his brother reviewed by a researcher at Lakehead University, he described it as a man, but not a man, taller than any person I have seen, moving wrong, like the joints were assembled by something that had only read a description of how a person moves. He abandoned his claim and never returned. In 2006, 3 hunters in Manitoba documented an encounter independently before comparing notes. All 3 described a figure at the tree line, tall, emaciated, moving in a way none of them could describe as walking. One, a military veteran with 2 tours in Afghanistan, said, "This was the kind of fear that doesn't come from a threat. It comes from something being wrong at a level you don't have language for." In Arlene EGO, trail camera footage from northern Minnesota was submitted by a wildlife researcher to 3 separate wildlife biologists for identification. All 3 declined. One responded with a single sentence, "I don't know what that is, and I would prefer not to speculate." The researcher confirmed its existence to a journalist in 2021 and stated they were not comfortable with the attention it would generate. The footage has not been released. The Algonquian traditions that document the Wendigo also document the response to it. This is the part most Western accounts leave out. The Wendigo was not considered unstoppable. Within Ojibwe and Cree communities, there were individuals known as Wendigo, killers, people trained specifically to identify and respond to Wendigo possession or Wendigo encounters. The protocols describe specific behavioral indicators that preceded an encounter or identified a person undergoing transformation. Withdrawal from community, refusal to eat, reports of hearing sounds nobody else could hear, a specific change in the eyes described as the light going somewhere else. These indicators were taken seriously, responded to communally, immediately, before the situation progressed. What researchers note is that the communities who developed this knowledge lived in the same environment where the Wendigo was reported for thousands of years. They were not theorizing from a distance. They were responding to something they encountered regularly enough to build a systematic response. That kind of protocol does not develop around something that doesn't exist. It develops around something that kept showing up. The Wendigo is documented in the oral traditions of 8 indigenous nations, in psychiatric case files from the late 19th century. In court records, Swift Runner's trial is public legal record in Canada. In modern sighting accounts from witnesses with no prior familiarity with the tradition, and in trail camera footage that 3 wildlife biologists declined to identify and that its owner refuses to release. What the Wendigo represents across all layers of documentation is something the traditions of the people who knew this land longest described with absolute consistency. A thing that lives at the intersection of extreme isolation, extreme hunger, and extreme cold. A thing that finds people when they are most alone and most desperate. A thing that, according to every tradition that documents it, does not arrive uninvited. It waits for the right conditions. The boreal forest covers 1.2 billion acres across North America. Most of it has no roads, no cell coverage, no witnesses. People go missing in it every year under circumstances that search teams describe as inconsistent with standard lost hiker scenarios. We are not saying those disappearances are connected to the Wendigo. We are saying the forest is very large, the tradition is very old, and the trail camera footage from 2019 has still not been released. If you have encountered something in the northern forests of the United States or Canada that you could not explain, tell us in the comments. Location, what you saw. We are building a record. Subscribe, because the Wendigo has been in these forests longer than any of us have been on this continent. It was here before the first European arrived, before the nations who named it. Whatever it is old, it is patient, and it is still out there.